Welcome back to What RT Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a very familiar FB3805, the Tier 9 British SPG. It's a familiar one because, of course, it's owned by Clicker, and he's on the Eastbourne of Malinovka. Well, I think they recognise it because they see it's got the Canadian flag and 3 marks of excellence. And, well, it's difficult to get 3 marks of excellence on this RT, but Clicker seems to have no problem, and neither does Oxidor. They've just streamed straight through getting their 3rd marks. Now, this RT was going to be based on the Centurion, but it never actually got built. Well, Clicker's found a target straight away. It's an SU-130PM. I think he'd rather like to get a hit on that guy. It's a very difficult shot, but he can probably land the shell right next door to that spot. Instead, he's decided to look elsewhere for a shell. And he's found a Shrek, or the, yes, some people call it something else, but we like to call it Shrek because it's a child-friendly name for this tank destroyer. Oh, he looked away after he shot. And we don't know what happened to the shell. Well, I think actually he missed the Shrek. But sadly, yeah, don't look away, children. Try and look and see what happens to the shell, because we want to know and correct our mistakes and make sure that the next shell doesn't miss the target. Okay, he's got a Conway and an SU-130PM in that spot now. And he's loaded, ready to go. Rounds out straight away. And it lands right behind both of them. Now, there's 3 different types of gun. The 5.5 inch, which is the same as the Crusader. The 6 inch, which is the same as the FB207. And the 3rd one is the 7.2 inch. And that's 182.9 millimeters caliber, capable of doing 850 alpha, 46 millimeters of pen, and a 9.5 meters burst radius. And he just got a direct hit on one of the heavy tanks going up the hill. It was a blind hit, but it was a very, very well, it was a well-organized one, you could say. It was a well-aimed one because, of course, he knew that those tanks were moving up and he knew their tracks, so he worked out exactly where the shell needed to go to get a hit. He's now got a Caliban, and that Caliban's going to want to hit the IS-22, but he pulls back and he does take a hit, 348. And as I said, the alpha for this RT is 850, so that was a non-penetrating shot, less than half of the actual alpha. Now, I should actually say, and I didn't mention that, the stun duration is between 12.5 and 28 seconds, and that can make an awfully big difference when it comes to when it gets the stun assist. Unfortunately, the Caliban killed the IS-22 that he was aiming at. I thought for a second he'd actually given him a double derp with the first shot, but it must have been just a single derp, which did penetrate and get a full roll, and unfortunately the follow-up shot wiped out the IS-22. But we've now got a Patriot on that spot there, and our guys are starting to fall back, which is not good. It's bad news, actually. Rounds out the Patriot. It landed right in front of the Patriot, but still splashed him for 230. Now you can see as Clicker is firing, he's moving back a little further each time. That's not just to actually reposition himself and avoid counter battery. It's because he does need to get some range between him and the targets. Because if those targets start making a move down the hill rather rapidly, he can find himself in trouble. AMX 5120. Again, it landed directly in front for 368. Now, the good news so far is the enemy hasn't tried to make a mass rush to get past our guys. If they did, they might actually be able to get some success, but they're actually holding back at the moment. They're a little trepidatious, you might say. Okay, he's looking at the Caliban, but instead he goes for the E75, rounds out. That appeared to be a direct hit into the side of the E75, still yielded 347, so he's racking up the damage already. The unfortunate news is we're 2 tanks down on the enemy at the moment. Okay, the E-75's just finished his stun, and we're almost loaded. Standard reload, 35.47 seconds. We can see Clicker's got 28.56. Rounds out in the E-75 again. And another direct hit for 334. And again, he's moving back. The enemy RT in this game is an M53, M55. As far as we can tell, he is actually firing into the group of enemy tanks, or group of our tanks, up on the north end of the map at the moment. But he's not doing as efficient as you can see that Clicker is, because of course Clicker is getting hit after hit after hit. You can see the enemy is firing at the rear guard of our tanks on the hill. As our guys fall back, it becomes easier for the enemy RT to actually get a shot on our guys as well. Okay, Skoda T56. He actually aimed that one between both of them, and it did damage both. But the thing is, what he's trying to do here is encourage his teammates to get some stun assist. If they can actually damage these tanks, he picks up the benefit. And in fact, he is getting stun assist massively out of that. 3 hits hit the TS54 and the Skoda T56. So he's picked up another 976 stun assist off that game, off that shot alone. So it was the right thing to do to aim between the 2 tanks. And this time he just got the TS54. Another 338. He's racking it up. Nearly 2,500 of actual damage already. In fact, it's made that TS54 want to go for the comfort and the security of the windmill, which is not really going to help him much. But he's had to pull back because it's just too much pressure. No, he's got 772. Rounds out, stationary. The shell went flying right over the top of him and hit the windmill area. Well, Clicker's decided he wants to go a little further forward. He's a bit concerned that he's not getting the accuracy that he wants. There's the TS54 moving forward to try and increase his accuracy. And unfortunately, the BZ-176 just fell to our enemy RT. Rounds out the TS54, lands in front of him. 225. There's still only 2 tanks ahead, but they have managed to get closer to our cap area as well. Not just the guys up the hill who are working away at the enemy tanks. You can see that it's an ELC 790 behind the houses and the hedges on near the cap, but they've also managed to get a Nomad into the lookout area at F7, and he could actually cause no end of problems. Now that Patriot is very low on hit points. He's a one-shot kill. Mind you, if Clicker does go for him, take him out the game, it reduces the possibility he might get a Confederate at the end of the game. Oh, he's done it again. He clicked out of the game, clicked out of the view after firing. Now, I have done that myself. It's usually because I press the mouse button too hard when I click to fire. I'm so hard, I'm trying to delete it with my finger every time I fire. But you need to actually get the information on where you hit the target just to give you an idea of how well you did. And yes, he did get a direct hit with his next shot, but it was a blind hit on the E-75, and he's got some stun assist off that one as well. And he's also navigating through those trees, being very careful not to knock them down. You can see where some of the impacts from the artillery rounds have appeared, some on the turret, some on the hull, one on the engine deck even. Go for it again. Rounds out. Yep, another direct hit. Even hiding behind a wreck is not going to help you with an artillery round, because the rounds are coming in from above, not from directly in front of you. So it might protect you from ground fire from the tanks, but if you receive a round from out of the sky, it's coming down directly on top of you from above. So that does tend to deal some damage. The ELC's come out of his little hiding place. Rounds out. Oh, he looked away. The ELC died to our Barask, I think, before the shell actually arrived. But you can see now Clicker is all the way in the back, and we're starting to hemorrhage tanks. The enemy has still got 7. We've only got 4 left on our team, including Clicker. Now, there's only 2 enemy tanks left from the hill. And one of those is a Charioteer, the other one's an E75. That same E75 we were firing at earlier. He's still alive. Not for long, though. So the big concern now is we've only got a Waffenträger Aufpanzer IV near the cap area to protect it. The other tank destroyer is near us. That's a Charioteer. Or is it... no, the Charioteer is out front. The other is the Scorpion. That's the one right next door to us at the moment. Three minutes, 42 seconds left on the clock. This is not looking good, I'm afraid. I can tell you, I was actually watching this game last night whilst I was doing videos. And so, yes, it's rather amusing, actually, because quite often I'll have Clicker or Oxidor on my second computer, and I'm watching them whilst the game's going down, and I can see if it's a good result or not. Clicker does have a lot of really good games. As I said, his videos are very popular. Charioteer moving like the blazes. Can we get a shot? No. And he manages to get to the cover of that rock, and now the Charioteer on our team was in the cover of the hill. But we fire in to try and get the E75, but unfortunately we only stunned him, and the Charioteer went down. So now there's only 3 left on our team, and they're facing 6 enemy tanks. So we're outnumbered 2-1. Notice how Clicker actually uses the overhead method. Occasionally he'll go to Battle Assistant just to see if he can get any more information, but he feels more comfortable with the overhead method. In fact, there's lots of players who are comfortable with either way, and they can get everything they need to know about how to aim at the enemy from their view. This is the traditional method. Oh, that was close range. He took out the Charioteer almost view range, but he was far enough back behind the bush that the Charioteer couldn't see him when that shell went off. We've lost the Waffenträger. That was the Nomad. That's the Challenger by another name, I believe. And we're tracking his path. We're not loaded yet, but there goes the E75. And I did say, well, he went down to the Scorpion. The enemy's headed in our direction. There's the Nomad. He's using the wreck for cover. Not going to help him. Direct hit. And again, we're using the bush mechanic because we are behind the bush. There's nothing to our north at the moment. The Scorpion's right next door to us, and the enemy arty is firing in this direction. And now the Scorpion's just unloaded. He's reloading. We get hit by the Conway. And that's the end of our game. The Shrek kills us. And there's only one left, and there's the Scorpion. He's gone. Taken out in the end by the Shrek again. Even the very best arty players sometimes get defeated, and the circumstances are against them. It's either normally the rest of the team is not up to it, or somebody on the enemy team is just too good to fight against. That was a first-class tanker for Clicker in the FV3805. He got a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 14 in this one. He got a Gauze Medal for doing more damage, exceeding 8 times the hit points of his own vehicle, a Confederate hitting more of the enemy than anyone else on his team, and he got the High Caliber as well for dealing the most damage in that game overall. And it was a very, very good game. I saw all these come up last night and I thought, oh dear, such a pity, because look at those results. Fantastic results. But sadly, yes, it was a defeat. Let's have a look at team score. Well, even though he was defeated, he got the highest damage in the game, 4,564 hit points. And that's because he kept up a consistent and repetitive fire. The shells kept raining down on the enemy tanks, and it just kept pummeling them until they gave up their hit points to him. The second highest damage in the game went to the Charioteer on the enemy team with 3,311 hit points of damage. And yes, he did kill that guy. The third highest damage actually went to the Shrek, who actually got 3,280 hit points of damage. And of course, he was the one that killed both Clicker and of course that Scorpion right at the end of the game. So when it came to kills, we can see that the highest number went to the Shrek, 3 kills to him. 2 kills went to the BZ-176, the Batchap Rask, the Scorpion, and the Charioteer on Clicker's team. And on the enemy team, their M53, M55 got 2 kills. So did the TS-54, the Charioteer, the other Charioteer. In fact, one of those I think is the Nomad. Yes, Charioteer Nomad. And the other Charioteer. And then finally, the SU-130PM. So yes, a lot of players on the enemy team were very good because they managed to get a decent amount of hit points and a decent amount of kills as well in their game. When it came to base XP, we can see that the highest was in fact the Shrek, 1,114 hit points, experience points, but the TS-54 got exactly the same amount, so they're not separated. And in second place, we can see the Charioteer the Charioteer Nomad managed 980, and then the ELC Evan 90, who was spotting for his team, did 961. You can tell he was spotting because he got no damage, no hit points, no kills at all, but he did get a very high base XP, which means he was spotting 6,020 hit points of spotting during that game alone. So yes, he was being very effective by being very stealthy. And I think, yes, he got a patrol duty out of that one as well. I thought he might. But we can see that Clicker did get the highest base XP from his team. He got 643 out of that one, and he beat the Caliban with only 583. So let's have a look at detail. 22 shots fired. Well, you get 48 rounds of ammunition in this configuration with the 7.2-inch gun. And he got 12 direct hits on the enemy. None of them penetrated, but he did get 24 splash. Damage of 4,564, of which 4,136 were at more than 300 meters. So there was some close range shooting. One of those was the Charioteer. 2 hits received, both penetrations, I'm afraid. The second one, which came from the Shrek, was the final shot. And in fact, actually both players who fired at Clicker fired at nearly exactly the same time, but the Shrek shell got there second and wiped him out. 10 enemy vehicles were damaged, 1 was killed, 321 hit points of damage assist, and 1,220 hit points of stun assist off 21 stuns. And so you can see combined damage on that one alone, well, that's 1.5, that's 4.5, so about 6k combined damage. It's a pretty good game. That's why he got a first class. Now, on a premium count, he actually made a small loss on credits, 12,505, but that's because he had to pay full price for the consumables. If he'd actually bought the consumables when they were cheap, then obviously he wouldn't have to pay the full price and it would actually make his results look better. But some might say that it looks artificially better, but I think actually, no, it does look better because, of course, you chose to buy the consumables when they were actually cheap. He also got 1,517 experience points out of it as well. But I think, to be honest, it was the fact that he was one of the last few tanks killed, not because he was sitting at the back, but because he was the most effective. He was doing the damage. He was moving forward sometimes to get a better shot, but he actually pulled back gradually, bit by bit. And he did have another teammate still alive at the end of the game until, of course, he got wiped out too. But it was a very, very good game in the FB3805, and I'm sure that Clicker will come back with a winning game for us very soon. Of course, he does send in a lot of replays. We're very pleased that he does, because, of course, we like really good replays so we can show people this is how you need to play in order to get great results. This is the ideal. See what these people are doing, and we'll try and give you instruction if we can through other videos, but these are the ones, these are the people you need to look at, to Clicker, Oxidor, and all the other players, to actually understand exactly how to play RT really, really well. I hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm, and thank you for watching.